Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another race with SOP Motorsport. We are here for round one of our replica British GT Championships. This is the third year running of the event, but some slight changes have come into play for 2023. This is the first time we are holding it as a team championship. So the final two rounds have been held as solo championships. This is the first time we are introducing it as team championships for a GT3 and GT4 multi-class. So we're really bringing the replica British GT Championship to life. We are underway with the GT4 qualifying, as you can see. Some GT4 time are coming in pretty rapidly. They have the first 15 minutes of qualifying before the GT3 counterparts come out on track themselves. It's a nice sunny day here at Oulton Park, usually taking place over the Easter weekend here in the UK. But we're starting it at the end of January for the virtual equivalent. Top in the times with a 1:42.4 is Kaczynski for the Simulation Esports team. They are basically a family member now of SOP Motorsport. They've been racing with us that long. Tucking in just behind is a new team to SOP Motorsport, piloted right now by Verstappen. We're going to go with Verstappen. I know they're part of the RCI esports team that have been competing with the SOP teams in the current Flexstream series by VCO and LFM. So they're right up there in the podium positions. Just behind is Danny Baisden. Literally nothing to separate those two in the Triple Eight Ginettas. I think we're going to see Ginettas near the front of the field for the entirety of this championship. They do rather well at these tight and twisty British GT tracks. So Eli Poe is going to try and separate those at the front of the field. Rather good in a GT4 car is Eli Poe. Simulation there, split first and fourth currently, so they're having a good outing at round number one so far. In fifth place is the F1 Memes Racing Team. Kildashev there in sixth place with a 1:42.9. Not too far off the pace as we just go down the order now. We have a handful of Porsche Caymans, the GT4 variant. And we've got 555, the 32, the 112, and the 16 in 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th place. Perrier, there, the Portuguese driver, is going to be Pereira, sorry, is going to be showing Rafa Campos how to do it for the Portuguese. I'm sure he's going to have his hands full as the Belgian racing team has just spun it from turn 1 then, so they're going to be going back to the pits, I'm sure, and that's going to be an invalidated qualifying lap for them down in 10th. The McLaren seem to be struggling, both hovering on the cusp of a top 10 position there in qualifying. We have 15 GT4 teams here, we capacity for 18. 2 of the GT4 teams can't be with us this weekend. And one just has decided not to turn up, so that's very nice of them. They may be disqualified from the championship due to the no-show penalty points that they receive. As a white tip is just off the pace, 2.6 seconds there in 15th place, followed by Oliver Newman for the team Rookie Monsters. So that's a new name from the Rookie Monsters that I haven't seen before. These must be some of the new signings that they've been about after I've been speaking to Tony about their team. So down in 14th place for the Rookie Monsters. We're used to seeing them at the front of the field, albeit in a GT3 car. Maybe they can string it together in the final 2 minutes of qualifying for the GT4 class. Ryan on board with the 62 machine. He's coming across the line. Does he improve? He does improve, only by 1 position though. He's got 1 over Mr. Barrett there, who drops down in the 88 machine. So it's a 1 place improvement for the team Monsters with a 144.6. As we are now riding on board with Mac Melio then for SOP Esports Racing. He is up on his best time at the minute. He's still got a lot of the lap to go in the 32 machine. He's almost 9/10 off the qualifying pole position time at the minute. This is going to be the final lap to see if he can improve. So we'll ride on board with Matt Camelio and see if he can get the job done for SOP Esports Racing, as the GT3s will start to line up in the pits, ready to come out for their attack on the first qualifying session of the season. 2/10 in the bag at the minute for Matt Camelio. This is going to shoot him up some positions, I'm sure of it. As he's just got 1 GT4 moving out the way nicely there, following the blue flags there nicely. No problems on board for Matt Camelio. Kaczynski is in the pits then, so he's on pole position currently with a 142.495. He is in the pits, he cannot improve. Everybody else inside the top 10 is out there on a final run. Matt Camelio coming around, ooh, he gets a bit wiggly coming out the final corner. Is it going to be an improvement? It looks like it isn't going to be. He's lost all his time. He stays 7th place then, but he does cross the line actually. He's got 1 more lap in the bag then. He crossed the line with 3 seconds to go actually, so he does have 1 more run to try and improve his time. As Danny Baisden is now in the pits from 3rd place. He is not going to get to improve. That is mighty tight between 2nd and 3rd then. And thank you for the follow there, Tom. Mr. RCI Esports, thank you very much for that one. I'm sure you're going to be happy with your team sitting in 2nd place currently for qualifying in the GT4 class. As we're running on board with White then, he's up half a second on his time. Is it going to be enough to get him inside the top 12 then? He has been off the pace slightly throughout this qualifying session. He's definitely on a mighty lap himself. Anyway, half a second left. He might be able to nip past Barrett and Newman in 13th place. We'll see what the damage is now when he crosses the line. He's coming around the final corner. And he doesn't improve, unfortunately. His time improved by 2/10, but he lost a lot of time then in the final sector. As Verhulst is coming across the line in 10th, will he improve with 1.2 seconds He does. He pushes himself up to 7th place then. So, and Kanicha's improved. So Camelio down to 9th. That's a fantastic qualifying from the GT4s then. 1:42.495 takes the pole position. He set it early on in the qualifying stages, and no one could beat him. Verstappen is there in 2nd place with a 1:42.6. Mighty close between Danny Basin is there in 3rd. The two Ginettas up at the front 2 rows. Eli Bo is there with Simulation in 1st and 4th. That's a good showing from them. With Seren Parr in 5th place with a lone BMW GT4 42.7 for them. Kildashev, Velhurst, Kanicha and Camelio with Pereira rounding out the top 10 of the GT4s, with Verstraeten, Seddon, Newman, Barrett and Tip rounding out the 15 teams that are present here for round 1 at Oulton Park. So we move on to the GT3s then. They are set in their first qualifying times of the season. They've completed the installation lap, and we're going to see these times coming in now. How fast are they going to be? Peter Brett is one of the favourites for pole position, as is Filipiak, Leon Seeley. There's quite a lot of teams out there that are going for pole position here. It's going to be mighty close, I'm sure, but the Porsches do seem to handle themselves rather well around here. Let me just pull that up, John. Yep, just in case anybody didn't know, John is with us, but he's rather poorly, so he can't actually commentate for us. He is in the background doing the broadcasting duties for us, as always, the mighty trooper that he is. And he's just informed me to make sure I get the Twitch stream up so I can see what everybody is saying. Old and broken, John, yeah. You should be able to join during qualifying. It isn't locked. It will be locked for the race, though. As times are coming in then, Peter Brett, as I said, the 33 flat, currently puts him in pole position for SOP Esports Racing. Leon Seeley not too far behind SOP 1-2 at the minute. Can anybody knock the SOP Esports team off the top spots in GT3? Zach Duran is going to be looking to do just that. Only 1/10 behind Peter Brett and Leon Seeley, nothing between those top 3 teams. Half a second adrift is Shalukin and Rafa Campos, though. Thank you, Ted and Ad Racing, for the follows. And hello, Mr. Death Zone. How are you? We haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're well. I hope you're going to be racing back with us very soon. As we're riding on board with Mike Abrinholzer. He's 7/10 up on his best time, 2.1 seconds adrift at the minute, but this is going to be a mighty lap that puts him back amongst the top 10, a bit higher up, maybe 6th place, as Leon Seeley and Shalukin come into the pit. They're going to be back out for some more runs with 9 minutes still on the clock. It is Abrinholzer himself up to 6th place and 1.1 seconds off the top spot, which is still currently held by Peter Brett at 32.6. So he's starting to crush these qualifying times. Then 2/10 is the gap between himself and Leon Seeley. Duran now half a second off, and everyone else over 1 second. We're riding on board with Adwiser Racing Team, Fabian Kana. He's down in 14th position in the 934 machine. Getting a bit of a cheat in the chat is Fabian. Is that your teammate in the chat, Jan Barth? I think it might be. So he's cheering you on. Hopefully you can improve on your time. 2.3 seconds is the gap currently as we ride on board with another Simulation Esports team. Then the GT3 BMW now, this time coming around the final corners. He's over half a second up on his time. Where's that going to put him? He jumps up into 8th place then, 1.5 seconds, as he just gets bumped back down to 9th because Mr. Lorenk comes in then to take 8th place off Filipiak. So Connection Lost Racing, I think they've got a team in both GT3 and GT4. I think Verstappen is the Connection Lost Racing GT4 equivalent in 2nd place. As Lorenk is trying to fly the flag for the GT3 team there. Some traffic building up now between these GT3s. Can they get clean laps in? Peter Brett's still leading the way. We are riding on board with the Irishman then, the SOP Esports Racing. 32.6 is his best. Can he improve on that time? We'll see now. He hasn't got far to go. He is slightly up. Not quite a 10th up on his best. We'll see if he gains or loses in this final corner. It is ever so slight improvement, just to put the win between himself and 2nd place, as he motors on for another lap. Almost a 32.6 flat for Peter Brett as he pulls off. Returning to the pits for that one. So Tamir Chalukin then, the F1 Memes Racing team in 4th place, 1 whole second off the top. But right now we'll see if he's got anything in the tank, because there's almost nothing to separate between 4th, 5th and 6th place. Look at that mighty close battle. 0.02 of a tenth between each of them in 4th, 5th and 6th. This is a mighty qualifying happening right now. 6 minutes still left on the clock. He's coming round the final corners. We'll see if he can improve on his time. He comes across the line. He doesn't improve that time around. So still plenty of time for these drivers to improve on their current bests. We're riding on board with Ludeman, the 22 machine, Team FWR. Porsches seem to go rather well here in both GT3 and GT4. There is currently a Porsche on pole position for the GT4s. We'll see if Porsche can take that pole position in GT3s as well. Leon Seeley back into the pits from 2nd place. Almost 2.5 tenths off Peter Brett, who is leading the way. So the ESR Motorsports team, John Gray, the number 14 machine, he's almost a whole second up on his best time. He is coming round, and the 505 machine also trying to make headway inside the top 10, but we will ride back on the 14 machine. John Gray coming around on this sunny afternoon. Where can he put that Aston Martin with 5 minutes left to go? He's in 10th place then. So right behind Mr. Ranjbar. Obviously identical times between those two teams, but because he set his lap later in the session, he will start behind them as things currently stand. The Iran racing team, who we were just talking about, Mr. Ranjbar, he is half second up, so he's going to be saying goodbye to Mr. Gray very soon. If we can keep this time in the pocket, half a second up on his best, it will put him around 60th on the grid for the start of the race. If we can keep this one up, still 4 minutes left in the qualifying session to go. He comes around and negotiates the final corner then, and he comes across the line. He doesn't improve. Still 1.588. So he lost all that time then on that lap somewhere. He was looking good. But we will ride back on board with Filipiak then for the Simulation Esports team. The 313 looking to make way on that 1.5 second gap. I'm surprised maybe Lipka isn't running in the team this weekend. He's usually a very strong qualifying driver for Simulation Esports. Not taking anything away from Filipiak, obviously, because he's very strong also. But this is a rather strong GT3 lineup here for round 1 at Oulton Park. as we're getting some driver team movements. Then Rafa Campos has put himself up in 3rd place to make it an SOP 1, 2, 3. Come on, guys! You need to knock this SOP team off the top spots. They can't be occupying all top 3 spots here. Good afternoon, Luca. So the Rookie Monster team qualified in 14th place in the GT4s. A little bit off the pace. Are they the new drivers in the team, are they, Luca? Both of them? Thank you for the F1M. No custom skins. Yeah, so we have time to get the custom skins loaded into the broadcast, I'm afraid. I did just mention that our main broadcaster has been rather ill, so that's why you don't hear his voice in the commentary booth this evening. But they will all be live from round 2 onwards. So yeah, I can only apologise for that. As Zach Duran looks like he's lining himself up for another lap. He looked to slow out of the final corners there, so 2 minutes left on the clock, enough time for 2 more laps for the Porsche Works team SMS, piloted by Zach Duran for the opening round at Oulton Park this weekend. The 117 machine sitting in 4th place. Porsche is doing rather well in the GT3 class, occupying 3 of the top 4 spots. Mr. Lorenk has popped that BMW up into 5th temporarily as he's knocked down 6th as Shalukin there in the McLaren comes out of nowhere to pop it up into the 2nd row, 3rd place, 0.3 of a second off the pole position time. He's already in the pits though, so that means his qualifying session is done and dusted. He will not improve anymore as every other team is out there still on a lap trying to improve. Final laps usually do make all the difference when a track gets more rubbered in over these sessions, so hopefully he hasn't jeopardised his 3rd place position in qualifying as Lorenk is coming through the final corner. Then is it going to be improvements? If it's not, he's still got 1 more lap to go. He does cross the line 9/10 off the lead there, so he's got 1 more lap in that BMW to see if he can make ends and get himself back up into the top 5 as Duran is coming round to complete his first of what could be 2 flying laps. See if he improves this time around. If not, he's got 1 more left in the bag. He does improve 4/10 off pole position now, moves himself up into 4th place as we ride on board with Vivid Global Racing, Wazy in the number 70 McLaren. They are down in 12th place, 1.8 seconds off the lead as that livery seems to have worked, John. Ah, right, okay, yes. So I'm being told that if your livery is on Awesome Sim Racing, it will work. But if it isn't on Awesome Sim Racing, then it will not work. So any liveries that have been submitted into the SOP Motorsport Discord channel for this opening round, if it's not on Awesome Sim Racing, it won't be showing up here. Good evening, Wiz Motorsports. Nice of you to join us. Where is your team? Why haven't you entered the team into this championship? There is still spaces available. We will open up registrations again after this round is over, so teams and drivers can still join this championship from round 2 onwards. I think we might have a space or two left in the championship. As Seeley was able to close up 1/10 on Peter Brett, not enough to take pole position. As these GT3 teams are now crossing the line, we ride on board with Wazy. He drops down to 13th place then actually. We lost out on that 12th place position as the session is now over. Was there not enough time put in that qualifying session? There must have been. Okay, so this is how it's going to line up for the opening round at Oulton Park of the 3rd edition of the British GT Championships. Peter Brett and Thomas Morant are on pole position with a 32.6. Seeley and Dewsmer line up in second with a 32.7. Shalukin and Rosenthal line up in third with a 32.9 to lock out the GT3 podium spots. Duran, Campos, Lorenk, Ranjbar, Ludeman and Abrinhosa round out the rest up till 9th. Lipyak rounds out the top 10 in the GT3s. If we have a look over to the GT4s, then taking pole position was the Simulation Esports team of Kaczynski and Kazalia. They post a 42.4, almost exactly 10 seconds adrift of the GT3 equivalent times. Verstappen is there in second place with Danny Baisden and Riley Murdoch in third place. That's the top three of the GT4s, with Eli Poe, the second Simulation Esports team in the GT4s, rounding out the second row. So it's going to be mighty interesting. There is literally nothing to separate the top 5 teams in the GT4 class, and then it's mighty close between all those from 6th to 12th as well. So hopefully we have a clean getaway at round 1 here for everybody involved, and we can have a mighty 90 minutes of action when these teams do line up on the grid for the opening round here of the SOP Motorsports British GT Championships 2023. Hey, good evening everybody. Yes, thank you for joining us this evening. Good evening, JR. We are looking forward to going racing again in 2023 with SOP Motorsport. Our first official team championship of the new year, and we line up at Oulton Park for round 1 of the British GT Championships. 90 minutes for round 1. If we look to the calendar though, we can give you a quick rundown of everything that's going on. As we know, round 1 is here at Oulton Park, which usually takes place over the Easter weekend here in the UK. Round 2 then, we head over to Silverstone for round 2, the blue ribbon event of the year in the Real World Series, the 3-hour race at Silverstone for round number 2 on February the 5th. Before we head to the first of 2 races at Donington Park, that's a 120-minute race for round 3 of the championship on February the 19th. Round 4 takes us to Snetterton. That's a 90-minute race around probably the tightest track on the calendar, before we head over across the waters to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. That will also be a 3-hour endurance race on March the 12th, before we come back over to British soil for Brands Hatch, round number 6, a 2-hour race around Brands Hatch on March the 19th. And then we end the championship at the Donington Decide, 120 minutes of Donington Park on April the 2nd, which ties up the British GT Championships very nicely, because it ends 1 week before the real British GT Championship begins, where you will likely find us heading to the real life event on April the 8th, 9th and 10th. So if any of you do head over to the real British GT Championships, we look forward to seeing you there. But we thank you also for joining us here for round 1 on January the 29th, 2023. This is surely going to be a fantastic multi-class event here with 1 hour and 30 minutes on the clock. It is going to be Peter Brett and SOP Esports Racing. Sorry, Thomas Morant looks like he's taking control of the first stint for SOP Esports. As we have a team in the pits, did they forget to press drive on the starting grid? Oh, thank you very much, Boosie. 10-month streak for your subscription there. We love the support from Rookie Monsters, as you always do. It is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Good luck FWR team from Ryan Bridgman in the chat. We will keep tabs of how your team is progressing in this one. Hopefully Rookie Monsters doesn't murder anybody. They don't usually, Rookie Monsters don't usually murder any teams, usually rather good in racecraft. Hopefully it can be said the same for your new drivers here in GT4s. Thank you, Peter Brett, for the subscriptions. Oh, they're not new, are they? Okay. I see these are your R-Factor 2 drivers. Okay. Team Iran didn't make the start grid, followed by Lucas saying some are actually terrorists. That's probably the worst timing of a sentence being applied after a sentence you could ever imagine. But we'll gloss over that one. Okay, it's deleted in case it's taken out of context. Thanks, John. There was no malice made in that comment, I'm very sure of it. Team Iran didn't make the starting grid. No, they seemed like they forgot to press drive. So they're going to be behind all the GT4s, just to make their life even harder to start the round one at Oulton Park. As Lutz is actually at the rear of the field as well. Hopefully they can make their way back through the GT4 grid. Obviously they can ghost themselves through the GT4 pack if they can speed themselves up, unless they really want to decide that they're starting behind the GT4 for some strange reason. Don't know why you'd want to do that. There goes the team FWR for the win. Comments out the window. But we will ride back on board with Thomas Morant and Leon Seeley, SOP Esports 1 and 2. We'll see if they can have a clean getaway out the blocks. Porsche versus Aston versus McLaren. The top three, the 7, the 324 and the 47. They're going to lead us away for round one at Oulton Park of SOP Motorsport's British GT Championship. As the lights do turn to green, we've got a drive-through on the grid for Abrun Hossa then. He must have been out of position on the starting line. Round the outside, does Shalukan keep it? He doesn't keep third place position then. It looks like James Rawlins has snuck up into third place. This is a clean getaway from the first two. They trying to break away from the rest of the pack as Larenk is looking to hound the Porsche there in 5th place as we just let the Deltas reshuffle itself as we are riding on board with Kaczynski. The Simulation Esports GT4 came, and then we'll ride on board with the GT4s. Up the inside then of the Ginetta goes Kaczynski. It looks like he's just made a... Oh no, that's the GT3s coming back through. That's fine. Not sure why they started so far down. They decided to make their life extra hard, trying to negotiate all the GT4s before they negotiate the GT3s. But it is Verstappen then who's leading the way in the GT4s. Kaczynski is there in 2nd and Bazin is there in 3rd. Already a bit of a gap developing between the top 2 and 3rd place Triple Eight machine, as he does to close back up on the Simulation Esports GT4 because the GT3 decided he was getting through at that tight and tricky chicane with the tyre barriers. But all action up and down the field then. Kildashev and Leon Seeley has took the lead then actually. We'll look on the replay where he done that. He got the lead over Thomas Morant. There must have been a little bit of a mistake from Thomas Morant in that Porsche. We'll ride on board with the replay to see where that move was done. Just looks like he got a much better exit then coming out the bottom half of Oulton Park. He's looking to make the move right around the outside. The driver of the Aston brakes much later and just hangs it right around the outside. He gets the inside line then coming through the tight and twisty section. Morant looks like he's got the move up the inside as he just gets those wheels spun up a little bit too much, and that's allowed Leon Seeley to take the lead, then tucks right in behind. Smart driving by Leon Seeley and Thomas Morant then not to have it coming together. It's so tight around Oulton Park that it is pretty much follow the leader. If you're stuck in a train and you're faster, it is very hard to get a move done. So top job ready on Seeley to take the lead in this one, as Thomas Morant then is 6/10 off. In second place then, Duran in third, Rawlins in fourth, Shalukin in fifth, and Lovrenk in sixth. But it looks like we've got another change, because Lovrenk looks like he's in fourth place now, even though the time delta hasn't updated. He finally does update. He's got the job done on Shalukin and Duran, as Duran's dropped down to 8th place, and something's happened for the 117 Porsche. But a fantastic start by Connection Lost Racing. Lovrenk up into 4th place in that BMW. We'll ride on board with Duran and see what happened. He was running in 3rd place. Porsche's in 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and he just got all swiggly, lost it himself there then. Driver error, was able to collect and correct to keep on going with no damage on board that Porsche machine. So a fantastic save. He almost found himself in the barriers. Luckily he wasn't. He's still going in 8th place then. He's going to have a recovery drive on his hands with over 80 minutes still to go in this one, as tyre barriers are now starting to be flung around. Dirt being picked up on these tyres, but nothing going wrong for the top 3 then. SOP Esports 1, 2, 3 in the GT3s. The 405 Porsche just keeping Lovrenk at bay at the minute, as we're riding on board with Filipiak, or Kaczynski, sorry. The Simulation Esports team being hounded by Danny Baisden there in the Triple Eight Ginetta. It looks like he's being held up something dramatic, because Verstappen is able to pull a gap now. 1.2 seconds is the gap between the leading GT4 and the rest of the field. Looks like you've got a nice battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Kaczynski, Baisden and Seren, Porsche, Ginetta and BMW. Who said we need custom bop for GT4s? This is a fantastic battle going on between the leading 4 teams. Obviously there's still a lot to play for. We do have the driver swap that's needed in this championship at every single round. So it's a tale of 2 halves. We'll see how each team's second driver can handle these stints. As Danny Baisden then, oh, he almost lost that Ginetta. Fantastic save there. Looks like he just got those wheels on the grass ever so slightly. He's going to be under pressure from the BMW. Looking for a move around the outside. Danny Baisden holds the line rather well. He keeps him at bay for now, but he's all squiggly coming out of the exit of the final corners as well. Those tyres are going to be super dirty. He's going to have less grip, less traction coming around turn 1. That BMW is looking rather spicy, looking to get a move done and capitalize on Danny Baisden's misfortunes, but he can't quite get the job done this time around. So Danny Baisden there holding on to 3rd place currently, but he's just dropped back behind the top 2. 1.2 seconds is that gap from those mistakes on the previous lap. But we'll ride on board with Vivid Global Racing. Wazy up into 10th, started in 13th place, so a good bit of progress from them. Up 3 places at the start of this. Duran in 8th place still. The 117 machine slowly closing on Gray. Go Team 404, says Katrina in the chat. 404 not doing too bad at all. Moved themselves up the order in this one so far. They're looking to challenge for a podium spot early doors in this race. Challenging the 404, challenging the 405 then. Porsche versus BMW. It was just going back to the real world British GT. Obviously it was the first year that the BMW M4 GT3 was in action at the British GT Championships, as these looking for a move around the outside there. Can't quite get the job done this time around. But yeah, the British GT Championship started off rather terribly for the BMW M4 GT3. They didn't have a great season at all until the final 2 rounds, where they ended up switching drivers actually, and it seemed to have made all the difference. The driver pairing team that lined up in the BMW M4 GT3, where they walked away with a win, I believe, at the very final round of the championship. So it was a tale of 2 fortunes for the BMW teams in the real world British GT Championship. As we ride on board with Team FWR then, for some reason they started behind the GT4s. We're not sure why they chose to do that, but they're already up into 14th place of the GT3s. They're making their way back through the field. Next one on the list for them is the 216 McLaren. Ekman behind the wheel of that one. As he just has a bit of an off then, this is an opportunity straight up the inside and taken straight away by a fantastic move there to get the job done, putting pressure on the McLaren man of Ekman. He made his mistake and he took the opportunities, as Lorenk is really putting pressure now on James Rawlins in third place. He's really looking for a way through. It's very tight and twisty here as he's getting all loose as James Rawlins. It's very hard to overtake unless there is a significant opportunity. It's very hard because these GT3s can make themselves rather wide, and then yeah, it's pretty hard to pass. You can go too wide at some sections here, but you run the risk of having some unavoidable contact because these corners do close themselves down rather rapidly. But Lorenk looking to be the one to make the moves at this stage of the race. Still 1 hour and 21 minutes to go. Certainly falling behind the top two of these two because James Rawlins is defending for his life as he's putting that car where it needs to be to stop Lorenk making a move. Luckily, these two have got the pace advantage over fifth place Shalukin at the minute as that M4 goes bouncing over curbs, trying to find his way past, trying to find that opportunity. Yeah, sorry, I'm having the broadcaster's having a day off. Yeah, I can see the chat, but I can't see notifications, so apologise. I'll apologise if I can't catch those notifications coming through. As we're back riding on board with Alex Phillip, SOP Esports Racing, the number 32 machine down in 23rd, currently sitting in 6th place in the GT4 class, only 0.3 of a second off Kildashev. The Porsche versus Porsche battle. We'll see who's got the better setup and the better drivers in this one. That's what's going to make all the difference. I'm rather well. I've got a little bit of a cold. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice. But John's rather poorly, actually, so that's why he's not in the commentary booth today. He is in the background doing the broadcasting duties because he's a trooper. So that's why you've got me, the solo Welshman, trying to do some form of commentary, if that's what you want to call it. But Thomas Morant is 1.1 seconds off Leon Seeley as we are right on board with a replay of the overtake. Then Lorenk does get the job done. The 405 was rather slow out of that final corner. Lorenk is taking this opportunity, getting the draft, getting the slipstream, switches to the outside. Later on the brakes, a fantastic sweeping move right around the outside then. What a brilliant job then from the BMW M4 machine piloted by Lorenk at this stage of the race. Up into third place they go. That's a fantastic move. A move that needed to be made nonetheless because he was being held up by the 405 Porsche. He's going to get his head down now. He's going to try and close up onto the top two. Hopefully they haven't pulled too far away because these have been battling since the opening laps because yeah, from the word go, they've been embroiled in a battle for third and fourth. He's got the job done right around the outside of turn one. A fantastic move. That's brought in fifth place Shalukin, who's yeah, looking rather racy himself then in the McLaren, looking to capitalise on the fact that those two were doing battle for such a long period of time. He's now right on the tail of the four. I mean, that is probably going to lease Lorenk in third place because James Rawlins is going to have another driver in his rear view mirrors that he's going to have to deal with. As they're already coming up then to the GT4 traffic. This can spell disaster or this can spell fantastically well for drivers, because if they catch GT4 traffic in the right place, it means they can negotiate them rather easily. But it can make all the difference in a battle when you're battling for position and needing to try and get past a different class of car. It can really mess up your rhythm, as we've got a fantastic battle for 9th place, the 71 and 70. Vivid Global Racing McLaren certainly not giving each other an inch, as the 111 Aston Martin just behind. I'm sure he's thinking that he could grab an opportunity or two if these two McLarens from the same team have coming together, he's going to be licking his lips and sending that stamp and saying thank you very much. Through to 9th place he will go. As we've got another follow then. Thank you, Ken. Kev, sorry, Kev. So yeah, fantastic battle. Look at that rear view mirror then. It's a fantastic battle going on for this 10th place position. Wazy holding 10th, Corbin, Lutz and Kana not too far behind. A fantastic battle, four-way battle you could say for a top 10 as they synchronized wide out of turn 1 for Corbin and Lutz. As there's a bit of a train forming for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Wide again is the Aston Martin of Corbin. So that's another place gained, it looks like, up the inside for Lutz than the 21 Porsche. Definitely the team that's making the most moves currently. They started right the way down in 32nd place, right behind the GT4s. They're already up into 12th place and looking to make moves up into the top 10. Next up on the serving plate is the McLarens, the 70 and 71 machines of Vivid Global Racing. They need to be watching their mirrors because Philippe Lutz is on the move for Team FWR as they've got a GT4 for good measure just in front of them. But now up on a close then for the lead of the GT3 field is Morant and Leon Seeley. Morant seemed to have found his rhythm and he's right on the tail of Leon Seeley. I wonder if it's the GT4 traffic that's playing into the hands of Morant. It's always a fine line between being able to negotiate the traffic smoothly, or if you're a driver that seems to be a bit hesitant, overtaking, not wanting to ruin other races. I mean, it's working in the favour of Thomas Morant, and with Leon Seeley being stuck behind GT4s at crucial moments. That Porsche looks to be on the charge, right on the bumper, looking for a little move up the inside. He can't quite get the move done this time around. This is where the Porsche should be the strongest in these short sweeping corners. And then the Aston just seems to have the legs on the straights. So we'll keep a close eye on this battle. We've got two more GT4s just in front of them. I bet Leon Seeley is wishing they got round the next few corners rather quickly because he seems to be catching them in all the wrong spots. Not the best time for GT3 cars to be catching the rest of the field. As he's now got to slow right down once again at crucial corners as he just pushes on past some of that GT4 traffic. So they motor on 4.7 seconds ahead of the rest of the field in the GT3 pack. Larank slowly pulling away from Rawlins, who's 2.1 seconds adrift also, as we are still riding on board with the battle for the lead. SOP versus SOP, Leon Seeley versus Thomas Morant, Aston Martin versus Porsche, as Leon Seeley's able to pull a bit of a gap now between himself and Morant. Now he's got past that GT4 traffic. He does have the GT4 leader not too far in front of him as well. And then once he's got past him, it's clean air, thankfully. But they motor on for another lap then. 10 laps complete here at round 1 of the British GT Championships at Oulton Park. A nice sunny afternoon, 30 degrees, sunbathing weather here in the UK. Not a problem on board for Leon Seeley or Thomas Morant. The Aston Martin with the bright green wheels then. Not a colour scheme that I would personally go for, but I guess he's trying to match those wheels to the lime green livery that's going on with the Aston. 1 second almost is the advantage though, so we can see that Leon Seeley, when there is no traffic in front of him, he's got the pace advantage over Thomas Morant, but Thomas Morant is surely going to be wanting to take advantage of anything that he can. 1 hour and 13 minutes remaining. Lutz is up into 12th. Yep, he's making way in this race. As Wazy's dropped back down. Lutz is up into 10th actually then, so he's definitely making ways as we ride on board with Danny Baisden then. Again, nothing separating Kaczynski, Baisden and Serenpar, the battle for second place. Oh, as Danny Baisden's given way in the GT4 class for the lead in GT3s, and that's opened the door for Serenpar to make his move up into third place. Serenpar is also then trying to come under pressure from Thomas Morant, who's lost a hell of a lot of time whilst these two were battling for position. This is multi-class racing for you folks. This is what happens, unfortunately. You've got to time it right, and Sarah Parr definitely timed that moment to perfection because he capitalised on Danny Basin moving out of the way of the GT3 pack, and he's found himself up into third place. The perfect opportunity. All he needs to do now is close back up onto the tail of Kaczynski. This is still a three-way battle nonetheless, as Sarah Parr gets it a bit wide then on the exit. That's allowing Danny Basin to put his nose up into the inside. Not quite this time around. Fantastic battle for the podium positions in GT4 as Lorenk is coming up to the back of this then. So we'll see if it can be Danny Basin's turn to capitalise on the GT4's need to give way. Doesn't look like it's going to happen as Lorenk is nicely through. Danny Basin so close to the bumper of Sarah Parr, then looking for a move up the inside. Oh, there's contact, more contact, and that is very unfortunate from Danny Basin and Sarah Parr then. Denied a fantastic battle for second, third and fourth in the GT4 class. That is separate those four drivers dramatically then with that contact. I think that's actually the first main incident of the opening round actually. There hasn't been any drive-through penalties come through for lap 1 incidents, which is custom here at SOP Motorsport. Anybody that's involved in lap 1 incidents gets a drive-through penalty. None of those have come through in the opening 20 minutes, and well, that's been the first bit of contact we've seen on the broadcast anyway. But we do have a wounded Mercedes, the 445. Elliot Reed, Team FWR. That bonnet is all out of sorts as he's almost lost the rear end again. Then will he pull into the pits to fix that damage? He does not. So he continues on for another lap then. He must be putting up with that damage until it's driver swap time. As Mr. Tip gets it all sideways in the Jeanette coming out of turn 1. Looking to make a move on Oliver Newman, the 62 Aston Martin, looking to go a bit wide. It's going to be a drag race down to the next corner. Not quite. That Aston Martin in both GT3 and GT4 seems to have the legs over the rest of the field. But the weaknesses of the Aston Martin get exposed in the corners, but obviously it's very hard to overtake around here, as we previously mentioned. So this is why the Aston Martin is able to keep that lead over the cars that are around them, because they just seem to pull away quite dramatically out of these corners, even though they're slower whilst they're negotiating them, as we currently see. As we ride back on with Mike Abrinhosa then, he did have a drive-through for being out of position on lap 1 actually. So nothing for, no penalties for contact, but he had a drive-through penalty for being out of position on the grid on lap 1. He served that in the opening 2 laps, and he's now finding himself back up into 13th place, challenging for 12th place, as there's a slight bit of contact then. Lights are flashing from Abrinhosa. Bit of defending going on there from Wazy, Vivid Global Racing. He's not happy with that one, flashing the lights. We'll ride on board. We'll see what type of mood Mike Abrinhosa is in. Looking a bit racy after that drive-through penalty. He's wanting to make up as much ground as he can. And to be fair, he's rather rapid out there, because he's already up to 13th place. He would have lost over 30 seconds for that drive-through penalty, as we see a car off in the gravel there. Just rejoining ahead of the battle for 12th and 13th place. It's actually a 4-way battle then. I think that was the 71 McLaren that was rejoining. So we've got the 71, 70 and the 333 all doing battle there in the GT3s, with GT4 sandwiched in between for good measure. That's not going to be helping them one bit. The GT4s do have priority on the racing line. That is to make sure the GT4 class can be as predictable as possible whilst they're racing. And then it is the GT3s responsibility to pass safely where they see fit, usually off the racing line, because that's what the GT4 has priority over. But yeah, Abrinhosa coming around then for another lap in the 333 machine. Hasn't been able to make headway just yet. Finds himself another lap behind the number 70 and 71. Two teammates, two teams working together there, I'm sure. The 70 and 71 in 11th and 12th. That is what's separating Abrinhosa from trying to chase down a top 10 as some more GT4 traffic. Oh, that looks to be Serenpar then, actually. He's dropped back down to 4th place. I wonder if GT3 action has caused this issue, because Danny Baisden has got quite a considerable gap again over Serenpar then. The 888 machine back up into 3rd place and over 1 second ahead of the 230 BMW piloted by Serenpar in the opening stages of this race. Thank you for the follows, Ryan and John. It's nice to see new people tuning in to SOP Motorsport broadcasts. It's always nice to see new people following the action and excitement that we like to bring, which is multi-class racing, British GT version. Trying to think of a word then. As looking to the outside is Abrinhosa then. We can see in the rear view mirror of Wazy, he's got to do a hell of a lot of defending here. Abrinhosa going to go on the attack. Is he going to get double McLaren for good measure then right round the outside? Is it going to be enough for Abrinhosa to keep it there? Slight door contact, I think, there was between Abrinhosa and Wazy. Wazy gives up the position then. We're seeing that outside move quite a lot in this race. Seems to be working rather well. That momentum seems to be carried so much better around the outside. Another great move then from Abrinhosa in the 333 to move up into 12th place. Next up is the 71 McLaren, the next Vivid Global Racing McLaren team there. We'll see if Abrinhosa can dispatch two Vivid Global Racing teams in the same lap. As we've said before, the Aston rather, seemed to have got some rather strong legs down these straights. We look how much he closes up on that McLaren. Later on the brakes, can he get a better exit through this tight and twisty section? There's a GT4 just ahead, just to cause a bit more of a headache for Vivid Global Racing. He's got negotiating before these extra corners. Does he get the job done? He's got the inside line. As the door is blocked then from Abrinhosa because the GT4s hold that racing line. He now does negotiate, holds that inside line coming up to the final corners. He can't quite get the move done this time around. He's definitely looking to pounce though. Definitely looking more of the racier of the two right now. This is a battle just outside the top 10 for 11th, 12th and 13th. Abrinhosa is not going to like being in this sandwich of Vivid Global Racing. He's going to want to dispatch 71 as quickly as he can. Doesn't quite have the answer right now though. Maybe this GT4 traffic just ahead is what the answer is needed to be. As blue flags are being waved, this is a tricky part of the Oulton Park circuit to be in if you're trying to get past lap traffic. He's looking for a move up the inside. Oh, that was a bit argy-bargy. Almost found himself into the tyre barriers there, actually. It was that tight. Lights flashing once again. Abrinhosa not enjoying this this battle with Vivid Global Racing. Hard defending going on. But ambitious moves trying to be made at the same time as the GT4s do just move out the way, or do they? Well, they're holding the racing line, as that is what they're entitled to do. And this has been the problem of the day, trying to negotiate GT4s as well as trying to negotiate your competitors in GT3. As Zach Duran actually moved up into 7th place then, the 117 machine. He's looking rather quick. only half a second behind Filipiak then, so he's looking to make moves back up through the field. He was running inside top 4 before his mistake. It was 3 Porsches inside the top 4. Sorry, 3 Porsches inside the top 5, with Rawlins and Morant also in a Porsche. But yeah, he's looking to make ways and get back past Mr. Filipiak in the Simulation Esports BMW. As we've had a disconnection then. Fabian Kana has disconnected. Team For The Win, was it maybe? For The Win Racing? I think that's the 934 Porsche. They've just reconnected. They're going to have their 2-minute timer for their wheels locked, unfortunately, before they can rejoin the race. But good that they have rejoined the race anyway. As we're riding on board with Josh Barrett in the GT Marquee 88 Porsche, running at the rear of the field of the GT4 pack. He's 3 laps down, obviously because the GT3s are coming through now thick and fast. Velhurst is just ahead, 10 seconds ahead up the field in McLaren. That McLaren looks like has been in a bit of a war with the damage on the inside panels of that one, with White Tip in White Tip Racing, the 13 Ginetta, some 1 second adrift of Newman, who's 10 seconds adrift of Boucher there in the 112 Porsche. Boucher's only 1 second behind Verstreeten, who's also only 1 second behind Eli Poe. Eli Poe's dropped back in the Mercedes then. We're not sure what's happened actually. He qualified in 4th place as he's just got back past Pereira's. Pereira's just tumbled down the order actually, as Phillips is running in 5th place now. 6th place still, sorry. Alex Phillips there in the 32 Porsche Cayman. We've got a fantastic battle going on just in front of all this though, as Kildare was just letting the GT3 Big Bro Porsche through. F1 Memes Racing Team in the 555. They're sitting in 5th place for all the 5s. Seren Parr is there in 4th in the 230. Dropped back quite a bit from Danny Bayston now, almost 4 seconds adrift in 4th place, as Danny Bayston is now 6 seconds adrift of the top 2. They were all fighting rather closely, nose to tail, bumper to bumper early on before they all had to negotiate that GT3 traffic, and then there was that unfortunate come together between Bayston and Seren Parr. So I wonder if it is because there's damage on board those 2 machines that they are now struggling to keep touch with the top 2. But no problems on board for Verstappen, who's leading the way rather well, as we've got an Aston Martin off in the background then. I wonder who that was. That might have been Mr. Gray in the 14 machine, but we'll wait for confirmation, as Duran is down into 8th because Mr. Lutz has moved up to 7th place in the 21 machine. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Lutz started down in 33rd place behind all of the GT4s. He is now up into 7th place in class and overall. Fantastic stuff there from Team FWR in the 21 machine. Making ways. I wonder how well they could have done if they started in their respective class right at the front of the field. Fantastic recovery drive and fantastic speed shown from Philippe Lutz so far in this one, but he does have Duran all over the back of him with GT4 traffic just in front. 0.3 of a second separates these 2 Porsche action. They come around the final section. He gets out the way, does the Mercedes. Shalukin then is looking for 4th place now. James Rawlins is under attack once again. Are we going to see another round the outside sweep? We are not. He takes back in, trying to get the undercut. Not this time around then. Didn't quite fancy trying to make the outside line work, did Shalukin. As we've got a 3-way battle for 4th actually. Rawlins, Shalukin and Filipiak. This is fantastic stuff to see. And whilst these 3 drivers are battling over position, that is only going to help Lutz and Duran close up again in 7th and 8th, so we can't wait to see what the final 10 minutes of this race is going to look like in the GT3 and GT4 class for that matter. but no problems aboard Leon Seeley. He is now 8 seconds ahead of the rest of his GT3 field. A fantastic opening stint from Leon Seeley in the 324 Aston Martin. 7.6 seconds over Thomas Morant in second, with Lorenk there in third, only 3 seconds adrift, as we're still riding on board with Filipiak. A fantastic on board here on it cam, as we get to see all the action up close and personal as they get past the GT4 traffic, as Rawlins, Shalukin and Filipiak come to a close to complete another lap with these final few corners left to negotiate. It's so great to see. Obviously this is a replica British GT Championship, so it is replica manufacturers. This is why you're not seeing the likes of Ferrari. This is why you're not seeing the likes of half of the GT4 field, because they're just not active in British GT Championship racing, so they're not going to be here on the grid for the British GT Championships virtually either. As the main protagonists, Bentley was an option as well, but nobody seemed to pick the Bentley. They were active in the real British GT Championships for around half a season before they pulled out of the championship. As nicely up the inside of GT4 traffic they go. No problems right now for these GT3, GT4 counterparts. They seem to be respecting each other's space and the road that's between them. As we've had a nice opening round one of British GT Championship racing here at Oulton Park. Tight and twisty, I said, but no issues on board for most of these drivers. As the first penalty is being applied of the race then by the stewards. Danny Baisden being hit with that 15-second penalty. That must be for the contact that he had with Serempa a few laps ago now. So 15 seconds is going to do dramatic damage for his top 3 podium positions, because Serempa is only 5 seconds adrift. So Danny Baisden is going to lose out on that podium position momentarily anyway, and he's going to drop down to around 6th place when they come out of the pits. So apart from Shalukin in 4th place, McLaren's not having the best of times here at round 1. 70, 71 and 216 in 12th, 13th and 14th, as Ekman is trying to also make his way past Schnalzga there in 13th then. So Ekman isn't the team that got reconnected. That's Golshay in there in 15th place. So they're multiple laps down on the GT3 pack, as we're seeing pit stops happen for the first time then. 55 minutes into the race, we are seeing mandatory pit stops being made. Rawlins and Schnalzga in the pits to make their one and only mandatory stop for their driver change. And that Porsche of Rawlins in the 405 looked rather battered then. So I do wonder if they are going to fix their damage in the pit stops. That will surely drop them down the order. They were running in a strong 4th place nevertheless, but we'll see what happens now, as we've got a hell of a lot of GT3 and GT4 traffic. The GT4 just off in the rear of the picture then, and a Porsche now off in the rear of the picture, as Duran is trying to negotiate this rather crazy lap here with 53 minutes remaining. Up the inside they go with Duran and Lutz still bumper to bumper in 7th and 8th whilst they're negotiating this GT4 traffic. I don't envy any of these drivers out there currently, let alone just trying to race Oulton Park in your own class. You've still got to negotiate. No way through there. Up the inside he was trying to look for a sneaky way through, and this is the joys of multi-class racing, because there was no way up the inside. He's lost almost a whole second to Lutz there just in that sequence of corners. So all work to do once again for Duran as they're slowly making their way back up through the field. But as it stands then, 23 laps complete, Leon C leading the way. He's going to be handing over to Marcus Dewsma when he does come into the pits. But they do have a 10-second lead over Thomas Morant and Peter Brett. We'll see if that Porsche can make headway in the second half of this race. Larenc is closing rather rapidly on Thomas Morant, actually. Another second and a half out of that lead for the top two positions. Larenc closed in rather nicely in the BMW M4, then coming strong after the opening 24 laps of this race. Shalukin holding fourth, Filipiak in fifth. 1.3 seconds is the gap between that battle for fourth and fifth place, and 6 seconds further down the field is Lutz and Duran. The rest of the field now slowly starting to get themselves spread out. Obviously this is what happens with multi-class racing, GT3s and GT4s. They slowly need to try and find gaps in the pack. Pit stops are now being made. People are going to be out of positions. Campos and Horman are out in 14th and 15th for the GT3s. They are the leading pair that have made their pit stops in the GT3 class. And, yeah, it's been a fantastic opening 40 minutes, I must say. 40 minutes of action-packed racing here at Oulton Park for round one of SOP Motorsport's British GT Championships. As we're seeing Abram Hoser just get a bit wild there coming out of turn one, but he is half a second faster on that last lap over Corbin. I wonder if he can make this move before the pit stop phase, or whether he can actually start to think about coming into the pits to get the jump in the pit stop window, because not only does he need to try and negotiate his own class of traffic, he's got GT4s in the way for good measure. He has to stamp on the brakes there as the GT4 then holds the race in line, as he's struggling to get his way through the blue flag traffic. Of course, the GT4s are not under any illusions of they need to move out of the way. Nope, they can carry on racing on the racing line. It is the GT3s. Lost for words. I can't think of the word. Yes, that's the word. Obligation. Thank you, John. It's the GT3's obligation to make their way past the GT4 traffic safely. As looking back at the inside is Corbin and Abram Hoser then. The McLaren just getting out wide onto the dirt then. This is a fantastic battle for 9th and 10th. The 111, the 333, they're doing battle for 9th and 10th. They're 10 seconds off John Gray, who comes into the pits then from 8th place. The next to pit of the GT3 runners. We'll see where he will pop himself back out compared to Campos and Horman in 14th and 15th. As they go on for another lap then. Gets it a bit all squiggly. This is the opportunity. The 111 and the 333 go side by side. It looks like he's going to have the move done. He backs out of it, does the 111. Corbin thinks better of that one, and he does get the job done then. Nelson Abramhosa. Not Nelson, Mike Abramhosa. I'm getting them confused now, John. They race with us so often. Mike Abramhosa is up to 8th place then, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic racing between those two. So Saran Parr in the pits for the GT4s, as was Alec Phillips, deciding to get their one and only pit stop out of the way. We need to see if that updates. It does. Santonen is in. Oh, we saw a Mercedes-Benz being sent to the shadow realm then. That was not nice to see whatsoever. As I was just about to say, that Santonen is back out then from 4th place. We'll see what headway they can make. Currently in 24th overall. Quite a way adrift of the rest of the GT4 pack, but obviously they are the leading GT4 who have made their pit stop at this point in time. It was Elliot Reed who just got murdered then. He's back running in the 445. They are not having the best of days, because they had a lot of damage on the front end of that Mercedes to begin with, and now they've just picked up some more for good measure, courtesy of a barrier. So John Gray into the pits for the GT3s, now running in 31st place and last of the entire runners here at round one. seems like they did not have a successful pit stop first time around, as Terry O'Driscoll now does take the lead of that wheel in the 97 machine. Perhaps they forgot to switch on the driver commands for their pit stops, but we'll see if they come back out and continue racing. As we're riding on board with Jan Barth, and who's taking the wheel for Adwiser Racing Team. But it says the pit stop is incomplete as well. Interesting. Oh, that's because they're a GT3. Where's Jan Barth? I can't remember. I've lost track of that one. I'm sure Jan Barth was in the chat whilst his teammate was racing. So I'm not sure why. Okay, right, yes, okay. 97 car driver swap game crashed. That is why the 97 has been in the pits, because they game crashed with the driver swap. Well, that is very unfortunate indeed. It's a shame that AT still has these bugs happening. I mean, it's not as bad as R Factor 2, obviously, but the fact that these simulation racing games can't just nip these small little issues. You know, the ACC would be the perfect simulator if they just got rid of these small little bugs within the game. But no problems on board for Leon Seeley still. He is leading the way, 12 seconds ahead of Larenc, because Thomas Morant has been in and out of the pits, and it is Peter Brett takes up the running of the number 7 machine. We saw Peter Brett do qualifying. He took pole position for the number 7 Porsche. He's going to be wanting to make amends for the start of this race where Leon Seeley took over the lead and was never really challenged by Thomas Morant, actually. 10 seconds was the gap when they came into the pits. We'll see if Peter Brett can make headway over Marcus Dewsma when he takes over the running for Leon Seeley. So Kadzalia now takes over from Kaczynski in the Simulation Esports GT4 Porsche. We'll see where he pops out ahead of Santonen. Is he ahead or is he behind? I need to see those timing deltas update. So I'll keep an eye on that one. He is ahead. Well ahead, actually. 16 seconds ahead. Yes, Kaczynski was in second place. Yep, Kaczynski takes over. He's still running in what should be a net second place. Santonen is in third place when Danny Basin comes into the pits, courtesy of that 15-second penalty, as the leader of the GT4 pack is into the pits. Then Verstappen is into the pits. We'll see how close Kaczynski can be when they come out of the pit exit, as Larenc and Seeley motor on for another lap at the minute. Corbin is in the pits. A lot of pit stops happening at this stage of the race, 45 minutes in, exactly 50% of the way. So that is natural, of course. As Peter Brett is the lead in GT3. Ostrazark has taken over the 313 Simulation BMW, and he is 22 seconds behind Peter Brett. Corbin is there behind the 313 as well. So we'll just wait for these teams to negotiate their pit stop windows, and we can get a full classification and rundown where everybody sits. It's all up in the air at the minute. Mike Abramhosa in 5th place. The top 5 GT3s still to pit. The top 4 GT4s still to pit. Ulrich has taken the reins of the 41. Kadzalia has taken the reins of the 4. Eli Poe is still out there. Oh, sorry, yep, needed the Delta to update once again. Camille Panis has taken over the 69 machine. ACC and the timing deltas don't update until the next sector. Does my head in. As Larenc and Seeley motor on them for another lap, are we going to see them come in this time around? I mean, the race is 90 minutes long. The drivers can do 65 minutes or more if their fuel tanks allow, because there's no driver stint limits here. And unfortunately, we have lost car 97. The driver swap didn't work, unfortunately, so they are out of this race. Here, round one for the SOP Motorsport Replica British GT Championships at Oulton Park. Leon Seeley is in the pits. Leon Seeley is still in the pits. Chris Vickers is out for Team Abbey Racing then. He takes over the reins from Abunhosa. We'll see where Leon Seeley, or rather Marcus Dewsma, piloting that one now in the second half of the race. We'll see what Laurent can do. They've decided to stay out for at least one extra lap. So we'll see if Marcus Dewsma has got the legs that Leon Seeley had. We'll see if they can keep hold of the race lead in this one. They're going to have Laurent, Shalukin and Peter Brett, I'm sure, all breathing down the neck for that race win in GT3s. The drive through for the 912 then, speeding in the pit lane for Verstraeten. That is very unfortunate to pick up a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane for the B Sim Racing 912 McLaren. Danny Baisden, Kildashev and Bath still out there then. Teams still left the pit down the rear of the field. Danny Baisden now the current leader of the GT4 class, courtesy of needing to make that one and only pit stop. F1 Memes up into second as well. They still motor on for another lap. 40 minutes left in this race. Of course, Danny Baisden's got that 15-second penalty to serve, so it's going to be very interesting to see where he pops out. He was running in third place. He did have a 6-second gap over, well, it's going to be the car piloted now by Santonen, the 230 BMW. We'll see what headway Riley Murdoch can make when he takes over that car. As Marcus Dewsma is in 4th place, Peter Brett is in 5th place. They are the leaders of the GT3 class, courtesy of their pit stops. Laurent is actually back out of the pits, and it looks like the 404 machine might have the race lead here. Or is my time in Delta not updated again? We'll wait and see. Okay, yes, it is Dewsma who's still got the race lead then. Bryant is in second, some 6 seconds adrift. Peter Brett is in third, 6 seconds adrift of Bryant. This is going to be fantastic stuff for the top 3 teams in the GT3 class. As we're watching Danny Baisden and Kildashev come into the pits then for their one and only stop in the GT4 class. I'm sure it's going to be Ulrich that takes back up the race lead for GT4s. Kidzalia will take back up 2nd place in the GT4s, the 41 and the number 4. It's all to play for them for the rest of the 3rd, 4th, 5th place positions, I believe. We should see Santonen pick up 3rd place, but then it's going to be Kildashev and Danny Baisden that are possible teams that are going to be around that 5th place position in class. But we'll see as they all cross the line. Kildashev and Baisden still sat there. Ulrich already through. Looking mighty fine out in the lead of this one. Nothing is going to be stopping Martin Ulrich taking the race win unless something very unfortunate happens, because they've got a mighty lead in the GT4 class now. But it is Simulation Esports, Kidzalia in second. And it looks like it might be Danny Baisden actually back out in third. Even with, well, it's not going to be Danny Baisden, it's going to be Riley Murdoch taking over the wheel of that one, even with a 15-second penalty applied. So that is fantastic stuff from SOP Motorsport Ginetta to still hold on to a podium position with a 15-second penalty that they needed to take in their pit stop. Not too far behind is Santonen, but maybe these second drivers are not quite in touch with the lead drivers of the teams, as that BMW does look a bit squiggly coming out of the chicane there. As Santonen is looking to make his way past and lapped GT4 traffic actually, with Horman in the 71 machine in 12th place. Not having the best of days is the 70 and 71 Bibi Global Racing. I mean, they're in 10th and 12th right now, courtesy of some drive up errors for some of the teams that were further up the field that are now not able to continue in the race. As Marcus Dewsma is still holding on to the race lead of GT3s, but he is getting closed down by Tom Bryant ever so slightly. And Peter Brett is definitely closing on Tom Bryant. He has halved that gap. He has closed that gap entirely, actually. 0.2 of a second, and he does actually take second place off Tom Bryant then. So he does get the move done up into second place. But we're still riding on board with Horman, the 71 machine. As Baggett comes into the pits, the 19 Porsche. Something wrong on board the GT3 in 13th place if they need to pit once again. As we're still riding on board with Horman, I'm sure John's just nipped off somewhere if we're not. Okay, there we go. John was doing some broadcasting duties in the background. Leon Seeley popping in to say hello in the chat. Brilliant first stint there, Leon. 10-second lead coming into the pits. Couldn't have asked for a better start at the race for round one. We'll see if Dewsma can hold on to that lead. Peter Brett is going to be looking to close. 10 seconds is the gap with 35 minutes remaining. Half a second a lap he's going to need. Does he have it in the tank in that Porsche? Only time will tell. Marcus Dewsma just needs to keep it clean. As we are riding on board with the SOP Esports Racing, Peter Brett. He is closing the gap to Dewsma. They are sitting in second and third currently. Shalukin still needs to pit from the lead. He's leaving it rather late, actually. I'm surprised that he's leaving it this late. Maybe they're opting for a no tyre change strategy, and that's why they're not coming into the pits. Maybe they can make that work into their favour, or maybe they can't. As they do dive into the pits on this lap then. That looked mighty close for a drive-through penalty as they come to almost a standing stop at the entrance of the pits here at Oulton Park. 47 into the pits for the one and only stop. We'll see whether F1 Memes Racing Team can come back out relevant to the rest of the pack. It is going to be Dewsma that then retakes up the lead and running of this race. The overall lead in the GT3 class, 33 minutes remaining. Peter Brett on a comeback charge. He's going to be looking to close that gap as quickly as he can to Marcus Dewsma. As there is a stop-go 30 seconds for Baggett, the number 19 machine. I mean, if that wasn't handed out by the stewards, that can only be speeding in the pit lane as well. On the exit coming out of the pits is how you would get a stop-go 30 speeding in the pit lane. But now everybody seems to have completed their pits. We will have a rundown of the order. It is Marcus Dewsma that leads the way, 35 laps complete. Peter Brett there in second, 9 seconds adrift for an SOP Esports 1-2 currently. Tom Bryant takes up the running for the 404 machine in third place. and the top three are easily over 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Rosenthal takes up the run in the 47 McLaren. Byrne takes up the run in the 117 Porsche. A fantastic recovery drive from the 117 currently. They are there in fifth. The 313 Simulation Esports BMW in sixth. Chris Vickers has taken up the run in the 333 Team Abbey Racing Aston, with the 111 Aston piloted by Clark just behind in eighth. Rafa Campos has dropped down to ninth place for the 405 Porsche. I'm not sure what's happened to them. They were running up as high as third place at one point, but they're now all the way down in ninth. Dewig has taken over the run-in the 70. Ekman is still behind the 216. Has something happened there? I'm not sure. Unless there's two Ekmans. I think there's two. There's two Ekmans actually. I remember seeing. Horman in the 71 there, and then Mr. Barth in the 934 Porsche in 15th, still to pit in the GT3 class. Ulrich, meanwhile, has no issues on board the lead in Ginetta, some 18 seconds ahead of the rest of the GT4 pack. A dominant race, can be said, from the number 41 machine. Gonzalia holding second for Simulation there. Riley Murdoch in third for SOP Esports, the 888 machine, 10 seconds adrift of second place now. Santanen almost 10 seconds adrift of Murdoch, with a Solitarov in the 555 in 18th, Camelio in 19th, which is 6th place in the GT4 class. Mr. Panis has taken over the 69. Kanicha is there in the 112. Williams is there in the 16. Sella is there in the 62. Stander in the 13. Hilsey in the 88, with a Baggett back out in the GT3, some way down in 26th from a stop-go 30 penalty, with Buis, Soufre and Seddon heading up the rear of the field, some 5 laps down of these GT4s now. That's the runners and riders still currently going then. 29 teams still racing. There was 45 teams signed up. 8 teams couldn't make it for round 1, and we've had a couple of retirements from round 1 as well. But all systems go for the other 29, as there's been a bit of a spinner for Bag then. I'm not sure what's going on with them. I'll keep a close eye as they pull over to the side then. Are they going to return to the pits? They are running on the edge of blue flags. As yes, we will keep a close eye on the number 19 machine. We'll see if anything needs to be done with that machine as they rejoin again. There's going to be a hell of a lot of damage on that Porsche. We'll see if they return to the pits to fix it. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt for this lap and make sure that they return to the pits, as we're looking on board with a battle and a massive punt to pass then out of nowhere. We'll watch the replay of this one going on. As the 19 does pull back into the pits then. Sorry, John. I was just dealing with a quick message in my inbox. So we're right back on board then with Kanicha then in running in 6th place in the GT4 class. Some questionable tactics going on between this battle. But nevertheless, we've got Camelio, Kanicha and Panis not too far apart, having a great old battle over 5th, 6th and 7th in the GT4 standings with 27 minutes to go. As we just get confirmation that Peter Brett is a 2.5 seconds faster right now over Marcus Dewsma, so that gap is tumbling down. This is going to be a fantastic battle for the race lead. 4.8 seconds as they cross the line is the gap. 39 laps complete, 27 minutes to go, 4.4. He's closed half a second in sector 1. This is going to be a fantastic battle for the lead before this race is over, that is for sure. Tom Bryant now slipping behind in third, 6.7 seconds adrift, but looks to be comfortable in third place right now. As they've just got a bit of traffic. Got a bit of traffic with some netcode going on just in front of them. We'll keep an eye on that one. Hopefully they don't get in the way of this fantastic battle we've got going on. As we're now riding on board with Rafa Campos then in 9th place, looking to get an overtake done on Chris Vickers. I wonder what's happened to Clark in the 111 machine then, or it is the 111 machine just in front of them, maybe I'm mistaken. But this is the battle for 8th and 9th place regardless, closing in nicely then. These Porsches seem to be coming alive for SOP Esports Racing in the final stages of this race. 25 minutes to go, positions still to be made, points and prizes still up for grabs. You want to start the opening round of any championship in the strongest way possible to set up your championship hopes, and Campos will want to be getting past the 111 machine as quickly as possible. .3 of a second separates these two. I mean, they're in a battle of their own as well. They got 27 seconds to the next car. So this really is just a battle for 8th place. Who's going to cement the best of the rest? Is it going to be Campos? Is it going to be Clark? Is it going to be Aston Martin? Is it going to be Porsche? 25 minutes to find out. As we do have a disqualification for the 19 machine. They were a bit all over the place the last couple of laps, so I'm not surprised to see that one come in. They were a danger to others on track, and that is why the number 19 has been disqualified. But as this battle for 8th and 9th place rages on, Mark Jude is trying to do everything in his power to hold on to the lead. He is putting in faster lap times, but it is still not enough. Peter Brett is still closing in at a second a lap, and he's now only 2 seconds adrift of the race lead. Is this inevitable? Is this race lead going to change in the next few laps? I think it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a fantastic battle for the race lead. The next question is, how hard can Marcus Dewsma defend? Does he have the pace to put that Aston Martin in the right places first of all, and then pull away in the Aston, as Campos is still not quite close enough. He's looking, oh, there's a bit of contact. 2 into 1 does not go into those corners, as Campos then needs to watch out for the GT4 traffic, and a terrible join. Needs to hold your brakes. He does not. And that results in a massive crash for Campos, and I believe it was Dewig, the number 70 McLaren, that collected Campos, who was veering back across the racing line there. He didn't hold his brakes after getting onto the grass. Tried to make an ambitious move in a closing track there. It was definitely 50-50 between Clark and Campos, and Campos has come off worse rather dramatically as he tumbles down the order now. He does get running once again, but that's not going to do his top 10 hopes any favours whatsoever. As Murdoch then is right on the bumper of Kazzalia. Not sure where to look. The battle for the lead of GT3s, the battle for second place of GT4s. This is fantastic stuff up and down the field. Kazzalia trying to hold on to second place. Don't forget, Murdoch was 10 seconds adrift after having a 15-second penalty applied in the pit stop window as well. So they've had 25 seconds to make up on the podium positions, and Murdoch has done just that. He is over the back of Kazzalia like no tomorrow. He wants to get the job done. And if he can get past Kazzalia, he's going to think he's going to have the legs to catch up to Ulrich in the 22 minutes remaining of this race. How much defending can Kazzalia do? That is the question, as Dewig is into the pits then to repair that damage on that 17 McLaren. That is expected after that massive collision down the back straight between Campos and Dewig. As we got a battle for the lead as well, as we're on board with Jim Clark just moving out of the way of some traffic. As we look to the front of the field then, ladies and gentlemen, the 324 against the number 7. Is it going to happen on this lap? They're coming around the final corner here at Oulton Park. They're coming around to complete lap number 43. And this is the battle between Dewsma and Brett. Teammate on teammate. Aston versus Porsche. Is it going to happen on this lap? You would think it is. He's got to make a clean pass. They've got to negotiate GT4 traffic just up ahead as well. So this is going to get rather spicy. No way through for Peter Brett there. He's got a GT4 to negotiate first. Is he going to put the nose up the inside of the apex? Not this time around. He can't make it around the outside either. So he's got a slot in 2 position and wait for his opportunity as they come up against Danny Basin then, as he does move out the way. So we missed Danny Basin getting past Kazzalia, or Murdoch, sorry, Riley Murdoch getting past Kazzalia, because we're concentrating on the battle for the lead, as Peter Brett has not been able to find his way past this time around. We definitely know he's got the extra pace, but closing up on the car and making the move is another thing entirely, as Marcus Dewsma is making that Aston as wide as he possibly can. Peter Brett trying to nip his nose up in the inside. He can't quite make it through this time around. He's got a slot back behind the bumper of that Aston Martin. He's going to be getting frustrated behind there. He knows he's a faster driver at this point of the race, but Dewsma is doing excellent defending and controlling of position there. The drive out of the final corner though looks to be better for the Porsche. He's decided he's going to go for the outside line. Peter Brett, is he going to be able to sweep round the outside of turn 1? The legs on that Aston Martin says no thank you. He takes back in behind once again then Peter Brett. The Porsche does not have the straight line speed over that Aston Martin. So what I thought might be a job done quite easily, I am standard corrected, because the Aston Martin has got the legs down the straights as we ride on board with a rear view mirror then. That massive wing of the Aston Martin as we try and follow Peter Brett. Is he going to look through the outside again? He does. He's looking for the switchback. He can't get it done. The door is blocked in his face by Marcus Dewsma. This is excellent defending by Marcus Dewsma. Thank you for the follows in the chat. We are on board with the lead in action here. Dewsma against Brett, teammate on teammate. SOP Esports Racing 1 and 2. They are fighting for the lead. GT4's getting in on the action as well as they try and negotiate them. Dewsma putting up a fantastic defensive race so far. Peter Brett was closing roughly 1 second a lap. He closed 10 seconds rather rapidly, but he cannot quite find his pass. And that is Oulton Park, ladies and gentlemen. These tracks are very tight and twisty, and unless there's a mistake, usually from the driver in front, you've just got to sit tight and wait as Peter Brett and Marcus Dewsma come through for another lap complete then. Peter Brett just lost a touch of time to Dewsma on that last lap thanks to GT4 traffic. So Dewsma can breathe ever so slightly for the time being, as Peter Brett needs to recollect himself and mount another challenge. Round 2 coming up soon between Dewsma and Peter Brett. But as we were watching all that, as I did mention, Riley Murdoch did get through into second place Oberkazalia in the GT4 battle there. So a fantastic race going on for GT4s. And he is currently half a second faster than Ulrich, who is leading the way. It's been a mighty race from the 41 machine. They did have 18 seconds to the good. 26 seconds to the good now, actually, because Ulrich and Kazalia, sorry, Murdoch and Kazalia were doing battle for second place. So I don't think the 888 machine is going to have enough to close up on Ulrich, even if he is half a second faster a lap. He needs to be 1.5 seconds a lap faster per lap at least, with only 17 minutes remaining. But yeah, fantastic drive from the 888 machine to find their way up into second place with a 15-second penalty in the pit stop window. It still wouldn't have been enough to close up on that lead. You got to give it to the 41 machine. They would still be roughly 10 to 15 seconds to the good at the front of the GT4 field, but Ginetta dominance, first and second, 14th and 15th overall. They've got to be happy with their performances so far at round one here at Oulton Park. Kazalia is going to have to settle for third place if he can hold on to that 5-second advantage over Santonen in fourth. That's pretty much been the story all along in the GT4 category, as we still ride on board with Peter Brett, who still can't find his way through Dewsma at this stage of the race. As we can see in the distance just up ahead is more GT4 Ginetta traffic. Is that going to play into the hands of Peter Brett? Again, thank you for the follows. I hope you are enjoying watching this one as we are on board with the leaders of the GT3 class, Peter Brett and Marcus Dewsma. We are here for the SOP Motorsports Replica British GT Championships 2023. Multi-class racing at its finest around some of the best British GT tracks there are in the country. Oulton Park is naturally round one, usually held over the Easter weekend here at the UK. We bring it to you live from January the 29th. And this championship comes to its full conclusion 1 week before the real British GT Championship begins, where you will also find us in the paddock, in the pits, around the racetrack on occasion through the whole weekend. So hopefully we can see you there and chat to you as we still run on board with this lead. Peter Brett and Marcus Dewsma fantastically negotiating GT4 traffic. And Dewsma now, he's just doing enough to keep that lead. The time is slowly ticking down. Peter Brett has been on the bumper of that Aston Martin for the last 10 minutes, but he just cannot find a way through. He was over a second and a half a lap faster than Dewsma at some points to close a 10-second advantage. But Peter Brett in that dirty air, trying to deal with GT4 traffic, just cannot find a way through, as Dewsma left that move really late to get past that GT4. As Peter Brett once again. There are no Bentleys this season, no. Even though they are allowed, the Bentley wasn't chosen, unfortunately. I don't know why, maybe because it's so rubbish in ACC now. Maybe that's why there's been no Bentleys picked for this British GT Championship. But hopefully this is the type of action we see throughout the entire championship. Aston, Porsche and BMW doing battle for the lead. The balance of performance amongst all these manufacturers is pretty even across all championship rounds. The McLaren has just had a little bit of a nerf, but it's still rather rapid at Silverstone, we know that much. But McLaren as a manufacturer haven't had the best of days here for round one, running in 10th, 11th and 12th, with the only difference being the number 47 currently in 5th place, as we still ride on board with the lead battle in GT3s. Then this seems to be the best battle to focus on. Everyone else seems to be pretty spread out up and down the field, as Peter Brett is looking for a move this time around, is he? Again, GT4 traffic getting in the way. Peter Brett must be pulling his hair out at the fact that he can find no way through this Aston Martin. Marcus Jusma with an excellent defensive drive here, holding on and doing just what he needs to do, putting that Aston Martin in the right positions to pull away down the straights. It's got the legs over the Porsche, we know that much, as once again we see Peter Brett has no answer coming out of these corners. Marcus Jusma then leading the field round once again, 48 laps complete, only 12 minutes remaining for Peter Brett to get the job done here at round one, the lovely sunny opening round at Oulton Park. As the sun beats down, the track temperature is 32 degrees. These two in a class of their own. The top three almost 25 seconds ahead of the rest of the field in the GT3 class. Hopefully we get a season-long battle between these SOP Esports teammates as they come through for lap number 50. Jusma once again. Peter Brett looking ever so closer this time around, however. We'll see if we can get a better drive off one of these corners. He's going to put Jusma under a bit of pressure. It's always interesting to see how these drivers cope with pressure. Are you better being the hunter? Are you better leading the field? Jusma putting his experience to show, though, to show that there's no way through that Aston Martin right now. Peter Brett still can't find a way through. He is edging ever so close to this time around. He's got a much better drive out of the final part of that chicane, and he's looking up the inside to get the move done. Fantastic move there for the number 7 machine. He needed to get that move done now because they're coming up to some more GT4 traffic. Hunter now becomes the hunted. Can Marcus Jusma get that position back for the race lead here? SOP 1-2. SOP Porsche against SOP Aston Martin, the number 7 against the 324. Peter Brett did take pole position here for round 1 at Oulton Park. It was Thomas Morant that started the race. He fell back behind Leon Seeley in the Aston Martin. The gap was 10 seconds difference before they came into the pits. They made their driver swaps. Marcus Jusma took up the running at the head of the field. Peter Brett took over the running of the number 7 Porsche with 12 seconds difference to make up. He was over a second a lap faster after the pit stops, and he's got the job done with 10 minutes remaining. Fantastic race. Fantastically executed move. Peter Brett surely is going to be happy with this one. It's still not quite the hat-trick. The fastest lap of the race is still taken by Leon Seeley at the minute in the Aston Martin. But currently pole position and race win on for Peter Brett in the number 7 Porsche. We'll see if we can get that hat-trick before the race is over. But it looks as though Marcus Jusma is now slowly dropping behind. 1 second was the gap. He's just negotiated a wobbly GT4 Porsche there, and that gap is only going to be extended by Peter Brett. Now he's got the wind between his wings. He can let fly, and he's going to put some air between himself and Marcus Jusma, that is for sure. But the rest of the running order is Tom Bryant there. The 404 BMW in 3rd place. They're running rather well. They started a bit further down the field. They made their way back up to 3rd place. I know they're usually part of the RCI Esports team. I don't think they're running under the RCI Esports name, however. The 117, they made their way back up into fourth place then. A fantastic recovery drive by them. What's happened to the 21 Porsche actually? They got disconnected. Ah no, the 21 Porsche was having a fantastic race. They started right at the rear of the field in 33rd and they made their way back up to 7th place before the pit stops. So they were on a mighty charge, but they're no longer running in this one. It is Rosenthal in the 47 McLaren in 5th place then, 3 seconds to the good over the Simulation Esports 313 BMW piloted by Ostrazas right now. Chris Vickers is there in 7th, Campos is there in 8th after his excursion off track before the horrible rejoin where he veered across the racing line and was wiped out by Oliver Dewey in the 17 McLaren that had to come back into the pits to repair the damage. Horman and Ekman are in 9th and 10th. They round out the top 10 runners and riders in the GT3 class with Clark, Dewey and Karner continuing there in 13th place. It is Ulrich then who is leading the way in the GT4s. They're 5 laps down now on the lead GT3 car, but he does have over 25 seconds to the good from Riley Murdoch, the 888 Janettas in the 1st and 2nd positions. 20 seconds to the good for Ulrich over Murdoch. So Murdoch has been able to close that gap, but it's too much to ask to close 25 plus seconds in the last 15 minutes. But Santanen has moved up into 3rd place then. What has happened? The 3rd place car of Kazzalia. They've dropped right down the order then. They've got damage in that GT4 car. They are down in 7th place in the GT4 class. They were running in 3rd. They've lost out. Santanen then promoted up to 3rd. Camelio promoted up to 4th. They've come out of nowhere. Matt Camelio and Alex Phillips. They found their way up to 4th place, and they're only 1.9 seconds behind Santanen, so they've still got time to close up on the podiums with 5 minutes remaining. Kanicha is there, not too far behind Camelio either, actually. So that's a fantastic battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th place developing. Seems to be around 1.5 seconds separating each of them. Panis is just behind that, 6 seconds adrift, with Kazzalia then losing out that 3rd place position all the way down in 7th. Williams, Zoltarev, Sellers, Stander, Hillsby, Buis, Soufre, and Seddon round out the GT4 runners and riders. So, we haven't got long left of this opening round of the British GT Championship hosted by SOP Motorsport. 4 minutes left to go. It's going to be about 4 laps left to run. Peter Brett, 53 laps complete. Pulled a nice gap now to Marcus Duzma, who done everything he could to try and hold on to that lead. He defended with everything that he could. Verstappen would have been proud if this was Abu Dhabi, but it's not to be. 4 seconds is the gap. Peter Brett away with this one. Marcus Duzma, fantastic drive to bring it home in 2nd place. That's how they started at the beginning of this event, in 1st and 2nd after qualifying. Tom Bryant is going to bring home the BMW in 3rd, bearing no issues, because he's got a 20-second gap to the 117 Porsche machine behind, and that's the top 3 for the GT3s. So yeah, Connection Lost Racing, even though I know them as RCI Esports, running in 3rd. A good showing to open their accounts here at SOP Motorsports in the British GT Championships, as they come around for another lap. 3 minutes on the clock. Everybody seems to now be spread out relatively well. Just a little bit of a battle going on in the GT4s for 4th, 3rd, 4th and 5th in GT4s, as actually riding on board with Ostrazas for a battle for 5th place in the GT3s, as Rosenthal is off then. The McLaren is off the track. That is going to be a position gain. Rosenthal got it all wrong then. McLaren out on the dirty grass there. That is not going to do his favours any good whatsoever. Vickers also up into 6th then, so Rosenthal has lost 2 positions with that off-track excursion. Thank you very much, says the 313. Thank you very much, says the 333. 2 free places with 2 minutes to go. That is what they like to see, as the 333 looks to make a move as well on the 313 then. So these races do like to come alive in the final minutes of SOP Motorsport, as we've got a fantastic battle going on for 5th place. Ostrozage is trying to hold on from Vickers, and Rosenthal is coming back then. BMW versus McLaren. This is what we love to see, ladies and gentlemen. Manufacturers going at it, drivers going at it. Who's going to come out at the front of this battle? There's going to be one more lap to go once they cross the line from this one. The BMW hasn't got the legs over the Aston Martin, but there's no way through this time around. Can Ostrozage hold on with the pressure from behind? Santonen trying to hold on from Matt Camelio. Then it's all going on up and down the field here. GT3's battle for 5th. GT4 battle for 3rd. As Camelio's looking for a move up the inside of the BMW. Not this time around. Looking rather risky is Matt Camelio to end this one. This is a fantastic battle to see. Something seems to be going wrong for that BMW. He seems to have lost a lot of pace, because maybe he had it coming together with Kutsalia, and that's why Kutsalia dropped down the order, and now that BMW might have damage. That's pure speculation from me in the commentary box, because we didn't catch it on stream. But Camelio is definitely the faster of the two right here, trying to close out the opening round with a podium in the Porsche. That would be something spectacular, as Panis behind is quicker than both of these then, actually. Kanika, sorry. Getting my cars mixed up there. Kanika looking to capitalise on Matt Camelio, who is trying to find a way around the outside of Santonen. The door is closed on that one. These Porsches are coming to the fore here in the final minutes of this race. 15 seconds on the clock. They're going to have one more lap by the looks of it. The BMW might hold on just a touch, as the GT3s are on their final lap then. Looking for a switch up the inside. Hasn't got the legs this time around. Vickers is going to maybe have a last lap lunge. Well, only time will tell. But Peter Brett is on the final lap then, leading the way. 7.5 seconds to the good for Peter Brett in the number 7. Judas hold on to second place, as top 3 are secure. This is the final battle for 5th place. Mr. Byrne in 4th has got the Porsche, the 117 machine. Secured that 4th place spot for him. Vickers, Rosenthal are doing battle for that 5th place in GT3, as we're still riding on board then with this fantastic battle GT4s. It is now or never. Camelio up the inside, as the BMW loses 2 places then. So from bad to worse for Stanton, loses 2 places on the final lap of this race. Hasn't got an answer to these Porsches. This is fantastic racing. Pete Brett, give him a round of applause. The lights are flashing, the wheels are wiggling. He's crossed the line to take the win at the opening round here at Oulton Park. Vickers is looking to get the move done then. Finally on Ostrozage, not quite. Oh, there's contact on the final lap. There is contact on the final lap. That BMW is in the tyre barrier, as is more contact with the McLaren. It's all happening here, ladies and gentlemen, on the final lap. Vickers was trying to slow down to let Ostrozage back through. He was doing the gentlemanly thing, but that meant there was contact between the 333 and the 47. There is definitely going to be penalties applied from the stewards post-race after this one, so stay tuned for final results. This is not done and dusted as the checkered flag falls, but the top 3 are Peter Brett, Jusman and Bryant. That is definitely for sure. Ulrich crosses the line first. Murdoch takes home 2nd in GT4. Camelio takes home 3rd in GT4 as well, so that is a double podium for SOP Esports Racing in the GT3s and GT4s. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to be biased there, being the team manager. Kanicha holds on to 4th in the GT4 then. Santonen must be kicking themselves for losing 2 places on the final lap. The BMW did seem to be struggling in the final stages of this race, as all the GT4s have got the checkered flag. There should be one more battle going on. Rosenthal has just crossed the line then. Vickers gets 5th, Rosenthal 6th. Ostrazarch is going to finish in 7th place. Ladies and gentlemen, wow-a-wee-wah. What a way to end the opening round here at Oulton Park. There's definitely going to be some post-race penalties applied by the stewards for this one. But what a way to open the accounts here for round 1 of the British GT Championships. Could we have asked for anything better? Peter Brett snatched the lead of the GT3s with 10 minutes to go and then pulled out a 10-second gap over Mr. Jusma. Tom Bryant and Lenk had a fantastic drive in the BMW to take 3rd place in the opening round. We did lose some of the top runners and riders, I think through disconnects in the GT3 class. That's very unfortunate for Lutz. They were on a massive comeback drive in the 21 Porsche. And then a fantastic race win in the GT4s. Goes to the 41 machine. Ulrich piloting the second half of that race. For a Ginetta 1-2, Riley Murdoch in the Triple Eight, bringing home 2nd from Matt Camelio, who also snatched 3rd place on the final lap here. Dramatic ending to the GT4s. Thank you everybody who tuned in to watch this opening round with us. We hope you loved the action. We do wish John, who is doing the broadcast in the background, a speedy recovery. Hopefully he can be in the commentary box with us for the next round of this one, because I'm sure he missed the commentary action. As always, an SOP Motorsport race comes to life in the final 10 minutes. Action everywhere. So much to commentate on. Thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Wednesday is the opening round of our sprint series live from Zolder. So we've got 48 drivers tuned up for that one as John just sticks on the replay for us. Yeah, so the opening round of the SOP Motorsport Sprint Series starts on Wednesday for ATC, and we are back for round 2 of our Race Room WTCRs tomorrow. That is from Sepang. Yeah, that's the F4s, John, just whispering in my ear, saying he's going to kick my ass. That's the F4s on Tuesday. But yeah, again, thanks, John. I'm no good in the F4s. We know this.
After
but thank
2
you very
years,
much
I finally beat him out of. They can hear me now. After 2 years, after 2 years, I finally beat Simon in a race after all my smack talking. So you better believe I'm going to be dining on past glories for a long time to come. Thank you everybody that followed. Thank you everybody that took part in the race. And let's pick a raid and Simon can say cheerio everybody. Oh, and thank you for all the well wishes as well.
There we go. Yeah, that's a nice way to end the broadcast. You can all hear John's sorry voice. But yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you at the next one. I'm not sure if you're going to be choosing the raid agent. Okay, we're going to be raiding Linksy then. So if you could all jump into that for us, that'd be fantastic. We shall see you in the next one. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice talking to you.
Bye everyone. There we go.